Hello and welcome to my video, Creating a Research Reference Guide. My name is Alice Childs and I will be walking you through my process for organizing a genealogy research reference guide. I am creating this guide to help me prepare for the Level 2 and 3 tests for ICAPGen accreditation, which will include a general knowledge exam, document interpretation, and a 4-hour research project. However, the value of my research reference guide is not limited to test preparation. It will also serve me well as I continue my research as a professional genealogist. I will begin by illustrating how I organize and set up my guide. Then I will give you a quick tour to share what is included in the guide so far and what I plan to add in the future. After experimenting with a few different platforms, I chose to set up my guide on Google Drive. There are a few reasons for this. The first is accessibility. Google Drive is accessible from any device as long as I have internet. I can even access it with the Google Drive app on my phone. Google Drive is also very intuitive and easy to organize. Its use of folders provides the option for unlimited layers, adding subfolders within folders as needed. There are a few other great features I will also highlight, including the ability to add access to one file in multiple folders, add links to items within Google Drive, and one of my personal favorites, the ability to send web content directly to my drive. The first step when preparing a research reference guide in Google Drive is to create folders. I first created a folder on the main page of my drive titled Family History Research Reference Guide. Within that folder, I created the subfolders you see here. I have a folder for general United States research, as well as folders for each of the states in the Mid-Atlantic region, which is my region for accreditation. I also included folders based on recommendations from the ICAPGen video, Creating a Research Reference Guide. These folders include document interpretation resources, locality guides, record types, and research methodology. I have also included a DNA folder because I incorporate DNA evidence into a lot of my research projects, and I wanted to have a place to organize reference materials for that. I included also a folder for ICAPGen test preparation materials, such as practice questions for the general knowledge test and sample research questions for the Level 3 4-hour research project. Finally, I have a folder for quick reference sheets. I will explain more about these sheets throughout the video. After organizing the main folders for the research reference guide, it is time to begin adding content. The first type of content that can be added is content that you create yourself. My locality guides folder is visible in the background on this slide. Clicking on a state or country folder brings you to the guides themselves, which I created using Google Docs. Within each state or country folder, there can be multiple locality guides depending on what my research needs are. Clicking on the New York folder brings up the 5 locality guides I have created for research in New York. I will be going over one of my research guides in greater detail in just a few minutes. Another way to add content is to add helpful articles found on the internet. To quickly add an article to my drive from the website, I used the print command or Control-P after navigating to the article on the web. I then chose the option Save to Google Drive in the pop-up print window. Once the article has printed to my drive, I can move it to the correct folder so I keep everything organized. I added this article on using an ancestor's birth year to find the best records to my research methodology folder. Another organization feature that I love in Google Drive is the ability to access a document from multiple folders. In this example, you can see that my New York State locality guide is in both the locality guides folder under New York, as well as in my state folder for New York. The way to access a file in multiple folders is by adding a shortcut. You could make a copy and move the copy to a different folder, but then when you edit one copy, the changes you make don't get made on any other copies. By adding a shortcut, you are basically working with one document, but you can access it in any folder via the shortcut. To add a shortcut, single-click a file to select it, then click Shift-Z. Select the destination folder, then click Add Shortcut. It will look like the file is in both folders, but the new location simply contains the document icon, and you will always be viewing and working with the original document. One thing I have done to streamline access to resources is to create quick sheets. Here you can see my records quick sheet. I have created a table based on the important record types document for the Mid-Atlantic region provided by ICAPGen. The table shows the content, availability, and coverage for each record type. It includes links for quick access to record guides and record collections for each state in my region. I am also planning on adding a link to document samples for each type of record. Part of what I love about Google Drive is the ability to link to other locations within my research reference guide. For example, clicking on the census link on my Records Quick Sheet takes me to my Census Records folder, where I have a census cheat sheet from the Family Lockup website and templates for each of the federal censuses. I am also including other important articles and information about censuses in my accreditation region. You can see I have already added a document that discusses the second enumeration of the 1870 census in Philadelphia and New York City. Of course, you can also add links to web content. For census records, I included links to the searchable census databases at both Family Search and Ancestry, as well as links to the Family Search Census wiki pages for each state in the Mid-Atlantic region. Now that you've learned the basics of setting up a research reference guide on Google Drive, I'd like to show you around a little. I'll share just a few of my favorite places in my guide. Let's go. The first stop on our tour is the Locality Guides folder. I have created state guides for each of the states in my accreditation region. I love to include a map at the beginning of the guide so I can see where the county of interest is located and which counties are its neighbors. On the left, you can see an outline of my guide, which is helpful for jumping right to the part of the guide I want to look at. For example, clicking on the timeline of major events takes you to a timeline of important events affecting New Jersey's boundaries, record keeping, and family movements. The last half of the guide is for record collections. I have included links to record collections under each important record type. This comes in very handy when creating a research plan. The second stop on our tour is the New York State folder. I wanted to show you that you can add entire books to a folder. I purchased the digital version of this gazetteer and have added it to my drive. If you are researching in New York, this is a valuable resource for you. The first half of the book consists of record guides for every important record type in the state of New York. The second half of the book contains individual county guides for every county in New York. If you don't own this book but would like to refer to it for future projects, the Family History Library in Salt Lake, as well as other major libraries in the United States, hold copies. One quick tip I wanted to point out: PDFs are searchable in Google Drive using the Control-F function. Speaking of PDFs, another great resource in my New York State folder is the syllabus from an institute class I took this summer called Researching in New York. I've also added this to my New York folder. I love that when I'm taking a class or listening to a lecture, I can add notes to the PDF file by highlighting some text and then adding notes by clicking the comment bubble that pops up to the right of my document. That way the notes stay attached to the syllabus. The final stop on our tour today is the Quick Reference folder. Earlier, I showed you my Records Quick Reference sheet. My citation templates are another of my valuable quick reference tools. I created these templates to use as I was completing my Level 1 4th-generation project. I now use them every day in my research as a professional genealogist. It's one of my favorite tools, so of course I had to include it on the tour. That concludes our tour and this video. I hope I have provided some valuable information that will help you as you set up your genealogy reference guide. For more great tips on all things genealogy, visit my blog at alicechilds.com. Thanks for watching.